there are three ways to charge any neutral body. So out of the three ways, here we are studying charging by friction. So here we can see that this is an uncharged cloth that we have taken, and we have taken an uncharged plastic rod, and this uncharged plastic rod is coming in contact with the uncharged cloth. Alright. Now when we rub this uncharged plastic rod on the uncharged cloth, what do we find? We find that some of the electrons from the plastic rod actually enter the cloth, and hence the cloth becomes effectively negatively charged like this over here. Okay. And the rod becomes effectively positively charged. This is what we find. Alright. In other examples, let us say if we take a glass rod and we rub it on silk cloth, similar phenomena happens wherein the electrons from the glass rod actually travel to silk. One thing that is important to be noted over here is that it is the electrons that are mobile. The protons usually do not leave the nucleus because they are bound to the nucleus by something called as the binding energy, which we'll study subsequently. So what is important to be noted is that the charge carriers of any material are mostly going to be electrons, and when electrons move, that is when charges move and current flows and displacement of charges happens. So essentially speaking, what is hereby happening is that the electrons from the glass rod are entering the silk cloth, and hence when we detach them, we see that effectively silk is negatively charged and the glass rod is positively charged. Similarly, in other example, if we rub a rubber stick with fur or wool, then in that particular case, what do we see? We see that the electrons from the wool enter the rubber material, and hence the rubber is effectively negatively charged and the wool is effectively positively charged. At this point, we don't want the student to worry too much about what substances are going to become negatively charged and what substances are going to become positively charged. It actually relates to the electron affinity of the surface and the electropositivity of the surface. So essentially speaking, wherein there is a negatively charged cloth over here that we see, that is effectively attracting the electrons. So the electron affinity of the uncharged cloth is more than the electron affinity of the uncharged plastic rod. That is why it is attracting the electrons from the plastic rod. But anyway, that point is not to be bothered over right now. Here what we are wanting to learn is that one of the methods of charging a neutral object is friction, and we can simply charge objects by friction when we rub one object on the other. Some electrons from one object are going to get transferred to the other object, and hence both of them will be charged. The object that is receiving the electrons will be negatively charged, and the object that is giving their electrons is going to be positively charged.